Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models would practically build themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Today, we are going to look at President Abraham Lincoln's funeral train. What inspired me to do this is, well, not too long ago, number 41, George Bush, passed away, and there was a train, a really cool looking train, by the way, and a locomotive in particular, diesel locomotive that had the presidential seal, number 41 on it. I mean, this thing was really neat. But it was going all over the country, carrying his body from one end to the other, wherever it was going. Anyway, from Texas to back. Where was it going? I guess it was Washington, D.C. and back. Anyway. But this isn't the first time that a president's body has been carried by train. And that actually started with Abraham Lincoln. He was the first president to be conveyed around parts of the country in a train car. So I had found out about this, and I thought that's kind of a neat era. I like to model that particular era in model railroading. And I got studying a little bit about it and thought, oh, now this is definitely something I want to do. So today we are going to take a look at President Abraham Lincoln's funeral train and the special car that was built that took his body into these different towns so that it could lie in state. And we're going to look a little bit about that, and then I'm going to start building this train. Actually, it's going to take me a while to get everything I need for it, but we're going to start building this train for my train layout. This is going to be my February addition to the train layout. You know how I'm trying to do things for every either holiday or season, and I don't like that February 14th holiday at all. But I think it's very appropriate that we do something to honor President Abraham Lincoln. So here we are on his birthday, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Lincoln funeral train. So stick with us.
On April 21st of 1865, a train carrying the coffin of assassinated President Abraham Lincoln left Washington, D.C. on its way to Springfield, Illinois. It would arrive on May 4th, there in Springfield, where the president's body would be interred. The Lincoln Special, as it was dubbed, it had a portrait fastened to the front of the engine above the cattle guard on each engine that carried it, would embark on a 180-city, 7-state tour that took it 1,654 miles across the continent. Including his eldest son, Robert, there were also close to 300 people that would accompany the body. And so the train was 9 cars long. Also on the train was the coffin containing the body of Lincoln's son, Willie, who had died in 1862 at the age of 11 of typhoid fever during Lincoln's second year in office. Willie's body had been disinterred from a plot in Washington, D.C. after Lincoln's death, so he could be buried alongside his father in the family plot in Springfield. There wasn't one specific locomotive that pulled the train the entire time, but actually several that were tasked from different city to different city were given the honor of pulling the train. But they all had flags along the sides of the cattle guard as well as Lincoln's portrait. So now on to the actual coach that carried Lincoln. This special car was the Air Force One of its day, built during 1863 and 1864. The car, built to transport Lincoln and his cabinet, was one of the most elaborate appointed railroad vehicles ever made. It had upholstered walls, etched glass windows, 16 wheels, 16, adaptable to both standard and 5-foot gauge tracks to ensure a smooth ride, and rooms for working and relaxation. The exterior sides bore a large painted crest of the United States. Lincoln never rode in this train while he was alive. It was finished in 1864, but maybe he felt it was too elaborate for what was going on at the time. Anyway, after his death, it was chosen to be the one that conveyed his body and his son's body. You can see from this picture here that the train was decorated with this black curtain, so to speak, that was drapery that was all across the train. This car in particular, though, it was very elaborate. Keep in mind they needed the 9 cars with all of these people that they were hauling around, because they'd have to take the casket out as they would stop at different towns and cities and go and have him lie in state in a certain city. Anyway, that's why there were 9 cars in the train. So a few years ago, Lionel came out with an O-gauge model of the train car with a very elaborate 440 engine. It looks very nice, and it even has the portrait you can see on the cow catcher. This is a very limited edition, only available through certain dealers, something like that. But anyway, if you're interested in one, try and look it up online. The car, the rail car, is stunning. I love to do this in HO scale. Unfortunately, nothing like this exists, so I'm going to have to find something that I can modify, or I'm going to have to scratch build. And I have no idea how I'm going to do these trucks. But I just know that this is something that I definitely have to possess. So I'm going to work on it and see if we can get this done one of these days. It looks like they have the correct couplers on this as well, which I think would be really, really neat. So I'm excited to actually look at these and see what I can replicate. Now, Lionel came out with a 2-pack of extra cars for this train. So if you got a few of those, you could actually build the 9-car train. But anyway, pretty darn cool that they did. Definitely would like to see one of these somewhere. So after the real car was used to haul Lincoln to Springfield, it was sold to the Union Pacific Railroad Company, where it became the personal coach for the vice president of the company, Thomas C. Durant. And you can see here in this picture, here it is as Durant's personal coach going across the prairie. After Durant used it, the UP sold it. It kind of fell into disrepair. It went through some different owners. Here it is with some standardized trucks back around 1909. Changed hands a few times and sat at this storage facility in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they were going to restore it because they recognized the significance of it. However, in 1911, there was a brush fire that went through this area of Minneapolis, and well, it completely destroyed the coach. You can see from this newspaper clipping of the time that it was completely gutted. And there's another picture in existence, but I'm not going to put it here. I don't have the permission to do so, but I have seen what it looked like, and yes, it was completely gutted, and the ends were burned out and just completely destroyed. So it is gone, but a reproduction has been built of it.
Well, so there you have it. The Lincoln funeral train, the real one. So for my February train that I'm going to be putting on my train board, I'm going to be building a HO scale replica of the Lincoln funeral train. The big problem that I have is that cars from that era, passenger cars from that era, are very, very hard to come by. There are quite a few freight cars, but passenger cars from the 1860 to 1870 era, yeah, they're few and far between, particularly the correct ones that I'm after. So I'm going to have to check. I know there's some folks that are looking at doing some 3D printing, and I have some connections there, and I'm going to have to check with them and see what we can come up with. Of course, I am an avid scratch builder, so there's a pretty good chance I'm going to be scratch building that car, particularly the trucks on it. Holy moly. I mean, it was neat that they did that so that the ride was better, but I have no way, I can't figure out how I'm going to replicate that, but I'm sure we'll find a way. So thanks for joining us, and well, stick with us next year. We should have this thing built. It's gonna take me a while, but now you can see my motivation and why I want to do this. So thanks for watching, and join us again soon for another wonderful video on trains, planes, automobiles, history, what have you. Thanks, folks.